All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Richard's Rant. Good morning. Of course, the morning is the best part of the day. And although I'm not recording this in the morning, and I myself don't have that sentiment of I just woke up and nothing has gone wrong as yet, I wish I still had that feeling. Nothing has really gone wrong today. I just, did some shit. Unfortunately, trying out something new, trying to balance out the 19 hours in my day, I made a mistake. Life goes on. But when you make that mistake, sometimes it has you a bit uncomfortable, or at least for some people, you kind of beat yourself up. So, ignoring that part, but it's still there, just being suppressed. So, a little annoyed. And on top of that, I'd have food now because today is the first day of the kind of lockdown or lockdown 2 or whatever you want to call it. It will probably be better defined by the time this one is published. Um, but you know what? Hey, let me tell you about the best part of my day so far. Some days ago, I discovered puncheon and lime juice and mango puree. And it's not mango puree. It's the mixers that you get in the grocery. Like if you want to make a daiquiri, it is coming. I think it named mixing and something. And it is a clear bottle. It have a little spout on the top with some kind of OBA liquid in it. I'm reading the contents to see what actually in there, and it's sweet. It's like a syrup, right? So it's a mango version of that, the same lemon lime situation as you would see in the shape of a lemon or a lime, usually around the meat section. Some of that, some vanilla, no, some mixed essence, and some puncheon. And Jesus Lord, that is a good day right there. It wear off already, and maybe I should do the rant then. Unfortunately, it already wear off, but that was a good lunch. That's a lovely lunch. I would suggest that you try it. With or without the puncheon, it's amazingly refreshing. And I'll also be experimenting with the other little daiquiri mix things as well to see. Oh, and coming out of that, I also discovered some essences. Like your vanilla essence, your mixed essence, your aniseed essence. So you also have banana, coconut, pear. Look like every flavor you could think of. But there's also rum essence. So I will be getting into that. And I'm wondering if that's what it is really put in rum and raisin ice cream. Because I really was eating that as a child. Coming to think of it, maybe I shouldn't have been if it had real rum, but well, can't undo it. And it is my favorite ice cream. Or maybe it's raisins, because I like raisins and grapes. Who knows? But it have rum essence, so stay tuned for that. And that mango lemon lime. It's not lemon lime. Let me remember. Was it lemon or was it lime? It was lime. So mango, lime, puncheon, vanilla essence. Mwah. Change your life. So let me see. I'm moved right now to empathize with the minimum wage worker, possibly because it's me. So I'm moved to empathize with myself. Um, in the previous rant, I would have spoken about imagine you already working week to week, you're getting paid daily paid or hourly paid or secondly paid like I am, meaning by the second, like your phone bill per second billing. Um, and bada bing, bada boom, you have unpaid vacation for the next 3 weeks. It's sad. Unfortunately, sorry, well, fortunately, in my case, that aspect doesn't affect me, but it's really, really sad and really, really scary to think about. And today, with everything closing at 8 p.m. I needed a few little things to make my existence a little more comfortable. Was gonna cook, wanted some pimentos. It had no cream, a little vein. Needed my weed, of course. I was running low, and my hemp. Buy a bundle, cause heaven knows, next thing you know, I can't even get that. The weed man was very professional, I must say. Went by a different person today. He had a little scale, everything. Fantastic, dude. Um, just little things. Some stuff in the pharmacy that was needed. Some grocery items, a little ketchup, some onion, some green fig, some tomatoes, little things just to make what I was gonna cook a little better. I wanted to get some dill, but I didn't see any, and I was tired of walking around. So, and I'm looking and seeing. First to begin, because I had limited time and limited money. Remember, I could have easily called this Rant Chronicles of a minimum wage worker or somebody with a tiny, tiny, tiny purse. But so this is my last $200, but fortunately I'll be paid in a couple days. I imagine it would be unsatisfactory since I missed some hours, and I did say I'm per secondly paid. But such is life. But the only reason to bring that up, really, or what made me think of that, was that I had to think where would be the most efficient place to go where I don't have to spend a lot of the $200 I have left in transport. So I ended up at Port of Spain. Sour, Long Circular Mall, and Mova Junction. And Mova were all contenders, but I just had a feeling that they would not have, especially the stuff in the pharmacy, and they might be missing one or two things in the grocery, and then they'll end up getting most of the things here and then having to go there. And the probability of getting everything in Port of Spain was correct, and the cheapest and the quickest. But in going through Port of Spain, first I appreciate the byproducts of the second lockdown and the first one, which is no traffic, no pedestrian traffic either. Nobody just all over you. Port of Spain was lovely to walk through. You get transport like easy, no waiting. But these are not good things. That means that people were at home, and it's all well and good for the monthly paid workers, but for those who lost their income, it's not. For the taxi driver, it's not. That's why there's no waiting. They're back down to 50%. So you could only have two people in your back seat, but the distance you're going is the same. And in some cases, like with mine, the median fare is $5, meaning nowhere off-road to in the back of, the general area, nowhere very far into the heart of the general area. It's $5. So you're running up and down for 10 instead of 20. The gas price then go down. You don't get a little blind. As a matter of fact, in the last budget, they took the subsidy off. So your tires, your nothing is actually going down. And for the life of me, I don't even understand why you could only have two people in your back seat. You should be allowed with one person in your front as well. The two people in the back seat have the same proximity to each other as you and the person in the front. But I think that this is the kind of ad hoc decision making that is being done by people that are out of touch with how things would affect other people. Now, of course, you have to think of some would suffer, but it would be for a little while and it would be mitigated, and the end should justify the means. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. And then you have people struggling to find a way. There were vendors out, and I made the mention of the person that I bought the weed from. And what's interesting is that he's accustomed living outside the law. The quantity that he has on him would exceed the amount per person. That's how he makes his livelihood. He sells some other things as well. Now, imagine you who was doing the right thing all the time, be you a vendor or an owner of a restaurant, and now for you to operate, that is against the law. It's probably a surreal, a beautician, it's probably a surreal way to feel. And I will not be against them if they find ways to operate or they behave like the criminals that they will be branded as. I noticed that the Chinese variety stores were closed. So I went to purchase the cream in a grocery instead. And, well, a grocery slash variety store. They're creative like that. And as I'm coming back, I notice that the group of men outside of the Chinese stores that look like they are liming, although they're socially distant, are not. They are shuffling customers in and out of the store that only looks like it's closed. And I actually felt good because it means that their staff, with the little bit of money that they get paid, is not disrupted. I don't know if that's their motive, but at least, people still earning. And if they're being supported, people need stuff, right? And then I try to take myself out of the equation and think, all right, so we have the numbers spiking and these people disobeying the law and they're contributing. But then I'm saying, but how are they really contributing to it? The first thing you have to do is sanitize. So the second thing is a temperature check. So if it is your temperature is normal, it's only then you're allowed to go in, sanitizing or not. If your temperature is normal, let's say that you have it, but you're not showing symptoms as yet, then you also can't spread it as yet, as far as I understand anyway. From the research that I did, stand to be corrected. But if it's latent within you, then you can't spread it either. So if they're not letting you come into the store, then how are they really contributing? But they are contributing to offset the next potential pandemic, which is the economic distress and the rise of crime. And the same thing with the taxis with the 50%. The driver said one to go, so I went. And then there was a roadblock, and he very politely said, I know where you live. I know you. I was surprised, but not that much. I've heard that before. But I don't know you know, so that has always surprised me, but custom. So if you could please come out of the car, walk down the road a little bit. After the roadblock, I'll pick you back up because it's only supposed to be the two people in the back seat. I said, there's only two people. You say yes when they drop it to 50%. It's like, oh, all right, no problem. Which then made me a criminal too, aiding and abetting crime. Which I did willingly, because how the hell you go drop two people for $10 and you can't even say, oh yes, you'll obviously pick up two people along the way when people home. Quite frankly, if I wasn't down to my last $200, I would have given him $100. That's a lie. Quite frankly, if I was making the money that I would have liked to make, I would have given him more. But if I wasn't down to my last 200, I would have given him more. Because I was actually thinking of another solution as well, as to what if it is we raise the fares to the taxi drivers during this time. but then that will just put economic strain on us and our salaries didn't increase. But all right, fine. But what if we have no salary at all? I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe loans should be made available to taxi drivers. You go, you show your badge, you apply for how much you want, and you get it. Government funded loans, perhaps. And that would stimulate the private sector, those criminals, in any case. But I mean, you're just leaving people to their own devices. And in the first one, they still have people waiting for assistance with the rent or food. So there's no trust. And of course, the socials now are concerning because this topic is extremely polarizing. You have those for and those against, and then you have those that are for the big stick. I have an issue with them. That's my issue. You're not supposed to be okay with somebody talking to you like if you're a child or usurping your adultness or your ability to make decisions and stand consequences for it. You shouldn't be tolerating that or encouraging it, but they are. But if people just listen and if people just behave, it's not children, it's adults, it's not about behaving. People have needs and wants and they have a right to satisfy it. And they have a right to stand the consequences. So I was thinking exactly what, those are the only people I have an issue with. If it is you are pro lockdown, fine. I'm against lockdown. If you're against, that's fine. I just have an issue with people being okay with somebody taking away the rights. And but he should just behave. That's what I have an issue with. So, in trying to find a solution, because I don't like to just say, this is wrong, there's a problem, that's not right, but what's the alternative? And I'm still undecided as to what that alternative is. But I do know that one of the issues that we have is that we have no faith in our leaders having our best interests at heart. They have failed us, they have lied to us, they have manipulated us, and the truth is, if it is we had confidence in their leadership, we would trust that they are doing the best that they can do. You know, like when you have a good supervisor in work, like I did at one point. I laugh because there are people at work at my current job that listen to this, so they'll probably be, so who is that supervisor? And he said did, so it's not a current one. But I didn't say which job. Lord knows I've had many. But where I am, I do hope and pray it will be the last. Not starting over again. But not for all the tea in China. The next step will be my own income. So at this point, just like in the last rant, just, take your time, say a prayer, say, Lord, put your hand deep inside a Richard business. Amen. So, when that supervisor made errors, or there were shortcomings, it was okay. It was okay for three reasons. One, you could tell the supervisor that this was wrong and it wouldn't be a scene or you can't talk to me or any kind of thing like that. And there would be adjustments. Or if it's not wrong, it's just that you lack the information, it will be told to you in a manner that you could understand. Well, I said one, but I think I cover all 2 and 3 one time. And there was always open communication, and there was always honesty, dependability. So even when mistakes were made, it was easily forgiven, and the benefit of the doubt was always given. But we don't have that with our leaders. And that we don't have that in many of our leaders. Even on the Ministry of Health's website, it says your. So your rights would be restricted for a while. It didn't say our. So, as I explained, I try to find a solution. I don't think I have one yet. I'm hoping that by the end of this I would have one, but I don't know. The Ministry of Health's website claims that 80% of people would have mild symptoms with COVID. So 80% of the infected people would only have mild symptoms, and 1 in 6 may die from COVID. I did not fully understand that because 80% is not the same as 1 in 6. If I'm not mistaken, those two figures are not the same. And 1/6 is more than 80%. And if we just quickly look at the figures, let's say 20% is 20 out of 100. So that is, you cross out the 0 by the 20, you cross out the 0 by the 100, so that's 210, and that is 1/5. So 1/5 of the people will have serious symptoms, but 1 in 6 will die. But a sixth is more than a fifth. No, I'm sorry. A sixth is less than a fifth. But it's two completely different figures. So I don't understand. But what you're telling me is out of the 20% then, the 1 in 5 that going to have serious symptoms, even less than that going to die from it then. So out of the 20% is 1 in 6 out of the 20%. That's what I have to deduce. And the figures actually kind of support that, because if there are 11,471 people totally infected and 179 died, then that means the death toll is 0.015. So let's say 0.02%. That's 2/10. No, I'm sorry. 2 decimal places behind would be 100. So that's 2 out of 100, which is 1/5. Not even 1/6. But it is 0.154, it's an approximate, so let's say, okay, 1/6. And that is 1/6 of the infected. So 1 in 6. So if 600 people get it, we could expect maybe 100 people to die and 500 people to live. Every human life is precious. So, okay. The next point is that we'll be overwhelming the healthcare system. But if 1 in 6 or 1 in 5 may die, then are we not creating the issue with the health center ourselves? Because everybody that gets it, whether it's mild symptoms or not, because the first thing is they're testing you for it mandatory. So whether you have mild symptoms, severe symptoms, comorbidity issues, or you are one of the 1 in 5 or the 1 in 6, you're going to be hospitalized and quarantined and all of this kind of thing. So are we creating the overwhelming of the healthcare system? Because if it wasn't for that type of response, many people would not even go for the test or anything. You would think that you're just regular sick, and you would find that you got over it. 80%, according to their own website, will have mild symptoms. But let's look at the healthcare system. Trinidad has 95 health centers, 8 district health facilities. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but I assume it's bigger than a clinic and smaller than a hospital. And 8 hospitals, right? So that would mean we have 111 official places or public health care places. 111. Trinidad has about 1.1 million people. People, man, woman, child, you know. So if all of us get COVID, it means that each health center would be able to see 10,000 people. That is if everybody gets it. That is not 1 in 6, that is not 1 in 5. And when I say everybody, including the patients that are already in the hospital, everybody. So if everybody gets it, that's about 10,000. Every man, woman, child, baby, 10,000 per hospital, give or take. Let's exaggerate it up to 15,000 per hospital. So how is it going to overwhelm? I'm sorry, how is it going to overwhelm? What is going to happen exactly? It's not surgeries. All you could do is vaccinate and monitor and give people oxygen. And everybody wouldn't need that because you tell me it's 1 in 5 or 1 in 6. So out of the 10,000 people, 2,000 people per health facility may need a ventilator or whatnot. So you're telling me that we can't handle 2,000 people on ventilators per health center, and that is if they need a ventilator. However, we could somehow coordinate the cost of the lockdown, the alleged money to subsidize and to replenish, and the cost of the vaccines. We could coordinate all of that, but we can't coordinate potentially having 2,000 ventilators per hospital and the staff needed. Instead, that's not an option. Okay. I understand. I don't accept, but I understand. So coming off of the ministry website, the World Wide Web also says most people that have contracted COVID would experience very mild to moderate symptoms. 3,200,000 people approximately has died worldwide, and the fatality rate is less than 2% of the persons that contracted it. So in spite of the scary news coming out of Italy, New York, and India, it's still less than 2%. And those are 3 countries. There are, a couple hundred countries in the world? And those, India has issues. India has issues. New York is part of a developed nation, so whatever, and so is Italy. But India has issues. So then I said, maybe, our leaders are so much older than I am, and they would have seen more than I am, so maybe I'm being disrespectful to their wisdom. So let me take a trip through history. In 1918, the common cold killed 2.2 million people. By today's standards, 2.2 million. So that's 1 million less than COVID did. The actual number is 675,000. But I didn't really like that. Like, it is you know how to magnify the number, and yeah, you have your methods and all that, but whatever, right? But then I read on, and heart disease kill more people than COVID. And even with the extrapolated figures and whatever, heart disease, car accidents exceed COVID. And that one was interesting because what we did is what I was hoping that we would do with COVID. With cars, we put in safety devices, airbags, seat belts, and laws, and you go about your life with your car. And with those safety things, cars still kill more people than COVID. So if we could function with the pandemic that is occur, I believe we could function with the pandemic that is COVID. The sickness that cars will cause would include the traffic jams when it have an accident, and the death and the risk every time you get in one, the need for you to protect yourself with the seat belts, the need for you to check your airbags, and when the sensor goes bad because you go down in a pothole to fix it, and having your car seats and all of that, and having your children right in the back. Those are your precautions, just like COVID has precautions, and you live your life. So, in my research today, because I didn't read the papers, I realized as well that I was mistaken with something. The RNA vaccine, or the one that uses genetic composition or genetic whatever, the one that uses your DNA is actually being manufactured and distributed and everything. So my source was incorrect, which was the same internet. Um, and the way that it works is that it tells your cell to make the virus protein, not the actual active virus, just the virus protein. And the cell will make it, but it doesn't affect your actual cell because it doesn't change what's in there. It's just like something coming across the desk of the cell. Like, could you buy a bread? So the cell will be like, all right, whatever, I will make it. Unless you have cells that like government employees, they'll be like, that's not my job, it's not my job description, and the vaccine won't work for you. But for those of us that in the private sector, ourselves included, they'll just make this thing and move on with the day. But then they'll realize that it's not supposed to be here. So they'll push it out in the dustbin, shred it, and then the antibodies, the garbage men, will be like, okay, what the ass is this? And they'll look at it and then they'll be like, okay, next time we see this, we'll kill it. And that's it. But it is very much being produced and everything. So I was still looking for reasons as to why it doesn't seem like anyone is thinking long term with COVID. I understand people are afraid to die. I understand the human desire for self-preservation. I understand fear-mongering, but I'm not understanding who is benefiting. That's what I'm not getting. And the only thing I could think of is if it is these, our leaders, if they have that whole male ego situation going on. They're, senior citizens, and the male ego is driven by attention and power. So, is it that it has lost their, have they become a little corrupted that they could come on the TV and say, oh, they go home, and we go home? Is it that that's actually going on? Our country is in debt. Our sources of income has been seriously compromised. Both carnival and oil. Our economy is not diversified. Tourism, we didn't used to pay attention to it, and it's not even an option. So, basically, the money is circulating in the country. And by continuously cutting off the flow for a disease that we claim that we can't deal with, which I don't understand, I don't think that that's acceptable. At this point, I really think we ought to be looking for ways to live with the disease and putting things in place to live with the disease, and to understand that whenever we do go out, because the disease has a latency period and there are carriers and there are people that are immune, we will get it. Just like any other virus, it will pass through. There would be a spike, there would be a surge, and then it would mellow to fuck out, like every other virus. Unfortunately, there would be casualties. And I really believe that since we have 111 health institutions, that we could deal with those casualties with some proper planning. The 1 in 6 should be relegated to a particular hospital, preferably a general hospital that could hold maybe 10, 20,000 people, and your mild symptoms and whatnot could be dealt with specific health centers. And I'm not even seeing why it would need to be dealt with if you have mild symptoms that will dissipate on their own. Well, with regular stuff. And this gives credence to all of the news that was coming out with I had COVID and I just went to the beach and sunlight killed COVID, and that is what happened. Those people had mild symptoms. They tested positive, they disregarded the information that was being given to them, and they got over it. To die we must, one day. It's our job to make the in between a little bit better for everybody. And I'm not for this lockdown, and I'm really disgusted by it at this point. And I do hope that listening to me today at least gave you something to think about, maybe even a change of opinion. All I'm saying is that we need to learn to live with it. So thank you for tuning in to this edition of Richard's Rant. Subscribe to the vibe and please comment towards our betterment. Vibes.